The real reason Hammurabi had his laws written down was not to ensure justice. On the contrary, it was to force society into a strict order, legitimize his authority, centralize the state, and make social control permanent under his rule. Although these laws were presented as being created for justice, a deeper examination clearly reveals that they served political, economic, and ideological purposes. First, it is necessary to understand the period in which Hammurabi lived. In the 18th century BCE, Mesopotamia was a region where different peoples, city-states, and belief systems coexisted. The Babylonian state was rapidly expanding and enlarging its borders through conquests. However, this expansion brought with it a major problem: maintaining control over societies with different traditions and legal systems under a single authority. Hammurabi's laws emerged as a unifying and controlling tool at this point. One of the most important reasons for recording the laws in written form was to make the king's absolute authority accepted by the people. Hammurabi had it written at the beginning of the laws that he was chosen by the gods and that he received these laws to establish justice. This portrayal allowed him to be seen not only as a king, but also as someone who carried out a divine mission. Thus, the message given to the people was clear. Disobeying these laws meant not only opposing the king, but also defying the gods. This made obedience difficult to question. Another important reason was to remove law from personal control and place it under the authority of the state. Before Hammurabi, punishments were often determined by personal revenge, tradition, or the arbitrary decisions of the powerful. Although Hammurabi's laws were not egalitarian, since punishments varied according to social class, they reduced arbitrariness and established a systematic legal order. As a result, the people came to accept that the source of justice was not individuals, but the state and the king. The laws also had an economic dimension. In Babylon, where trade was highly developed, issues such as debts, interest rates, wages, property, and inheritance were regulated in detail. These regulations aimed to ensure economic stability and increase production. A state with a strong economy would also be strong militarily and politically. Therefore, the laws were part of Hammurabi's strategy to sustain his state in the long term. Furthermore, Hammurabi's laws clearly preserved social class distinctions. Different punishments were prescribed for free people, slaves, and nobles, showing that the goal was not equal justice for all, but the preservation of the existing social order. While the laws protected the rights of the upper classes, they defined the limits of the lower classes. In this way, social structure was kept stable, and the possibility of rebellion and disorder was reduced. The decision to carve the laws onto stone stele and place them in public spaces was also a deliberate choice. Even though most of the population was illiterate, these monuments symbolized the power of the state. People were led to believe that the laws were unchangeable and permanent, reinforcing Hammurabi's name and authority for generations. In conclusion, the real reason Hammurabi had his laws written down was not merely to establish justice. His main objectives were to legitimize his power through divine authority, unify different peoples under a single legal system, control economic and social order, and make his rule permanent. In this respect, the Code of Hammurabi was not only a legal document, but also a powerful tool of political propaganda and state governance. For this reason, it is regarded not only as one of the first written legal codes in history, but also as one of the earliest and clearest examples of how law can be used as an instrument of power.